Bob Leonard, live down near Bussy, moving to Knoxville. My question is about Senate File 2434, which would remove the public notice requirements for school boards, city councils, board of supervisors. They wouldn't have to publish them in the newspaper, in the local newspaper, and the consequences would be lack of transparency. People wouldn't know what's going on, and it would also close about a third of Iowa's newspapers. I want to know what you stand, and so that means that we wouldn't know what's happening in city council, we wouldn't know what's happening in school boards, we wouldn't know what's happening in county government. I'd like to know your stance on this, your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Baum. I'm glad you brought that up. I just had a great conversation with a local small newspaper not far from Pella that covers Pella. I do not like the fact that we are getting rid of the small newspapers. And I don't know that that is going to be it. I think there's workings on that's going to still be an option. In our committee when we spoke, is that we allow those small newspapers. There's many of us that look forward to having that paper in our hand, I'm being one of them, and be able to look at it, read it. Grandparents cut pictures out of their grandkids that have been in the sports. So I know that the information that the schools put in and the counties and the cities into the newspapers helps pay for the newspapers and so forth. So I want that piece pulled out of that bill. I want that out. So that's telling who I am. I'm not sure where these guys stand. So, but I did want to make that. I had a great conversation with a couple of small newspapers, Bob. So.
I just want to thank the Oskaloosa Herald for being here. They're another wonderful newspaper in our local area. I don't support that part either, Dr. Bob. A lot of times those notices are what supplies a lot of revenue for the newspapers and what allows them to stay open. And so, no, I'm not in favor of that. And I feel like in much of our caucus, that's the case. So again, in Senator Rosenblum's words, that bill is probably dead.
Well, if you're not, I'll use your words. You said that bill were to pass into law, a third of the newspapers in Iowa would probably close. That causes me some concern that a third of the newspapers in Iowa are open because of the public notice requirements for counties and cities to publish. I mean, something right there seems backwards to me. The reason why this issue is out there, and I've been in the Senate now 6 years, and every year there seems to be a bill about public notices. This is one that's brought on by to us from the school boards, from the cities, from the counties, on the cost that it costs them to make these public notices. And the other side of that is, if people are then required to subscribe to the newspaper just to get public notices. Some concepts have been put it online so everybody can have access to it in a free format. So this issue's been around for many, many years. But again, if a third of the newspapers are going to close, if this bill were to become law, that to me maybe is a reason why we need to look at the issue. If these newspapers are charging so much for the public notices and they're fully being propped up by the county, cities, and school boards that have to publish it, and there may be something wrong there. And then that all ties back into property taxes, right? We're talking about property tax reform and trying to control growth and control spending at these various levels, city, county, and school districts. If we continue to have them make requirements like public notices and paying for that, well, if we all want lower property taxes, maybe go to a different model for the public notices would be one way for them to save money.
When Kristen Oyer was in the Senate before she became lieutenant governor, she worked on this very thing. And we actually passed some legislation 3 or 4 years ago. I just looked this up. I had a similar bill in state government committee earlier this year, and it didn't make it out of state government committee. This appears to be a different one. It's in the local government committee, which I do not serve on. So, and Scott Webster, he's the chairman of local government, has a lot of experience in local government. So I'm not sure, my point in speaking at all is to tell you this. The other side of that coin is that with today's world, not a lot of younger people especially read print news, and the fact that, what we've done is pass legislation to get this public notices available in more readily accessible electronic forms for the younger generations. So there's always going to be the tension between the two. We killed the bill in the state government. I don't know the details of this with the local government, but we heard what you said. Thank you.
Next question.